What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jeremy back with another video. So we finally made it. Episode 6 for the Kenobi series is here, and wow, what a finale. Now if you guys haven't seen it yet, I advise you to come back to this video afterwards as there will be spoilers. Otherwise, let's get right to it. So the episode starts off right where we had left off last time. Obi-Wan and the refugees are on the run from Vader. We learn the hyperdrive isn't working, but it can be fixed. They just need more time. So of course, in order to buy the other escapees more time, Obi-Wan tells them he will lure Vader away and fight him on his own. Despite their protests, Obi-Wan says his heartwarming goodbyes to Leia and Roken, and he leaves for the nearest planet. Just as Obi-Wan predicts when he parts ways with the refugees in his own ship, Vader and the Star Destroyer focus all attention on him and let the Force-sensitive kids escape. Now, if I had to nitpick here, I kind of thought it was funny how they let the Force-sensitive children escape because Vader wanted to pursue Kenobi, even though Vader had his own separate ship that he ends up pursuing Kenobi in. Like, if they wanted to, they could have easily caught both parties. Like, they could have had Vader pursue Kenobi on his own, and then the Star Destroyer could have pursued the kids that were trying to escape. It's really not that big of a deal, but I would say that this is another example of some of those contrived logistical issues the show has. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this because I think they're huge deals, but after a while, you start to notice this pattern, and it's like, come on, we can be a little more clever than that. You have an elite team of writers on this show, you can definitely do better when it comes to these little details. That's why we pay you guys the big bucks. But anyway, so Kenobi lures Vader away while we simultaneously see Reva going to Tatooine to find Luke and Owen. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, I did not care too much about Reva's arc here at all. I think to put this juxtaposed to the Kenobi Vader fight was a straight up bad idea. Even if they assumed we would have loved Reva by the end of this series, there's just no stakes. We know she isn't gonna kill Luke, Owen, or Beru, and we're all infinitely more invested in Obi-Wan and Vader. If anything, I was just hoping that she wouldn't do anything that broke canon. So while Reva's doing her thing on Tatooine, we finally get the scene we've all been waiting for. The rematch of a century. Vader versus Obi-Wan round 3. Now for starters, I gotta say, the fight choreography and the location was kind of average to me if I'm being honest. Now don't get me wrong, the fight is good, but if you're gonna call this the rematch of a century, I'm gonna expect you guys to go all out. I mean, in my opinion, Anakin versus Obi-Wan was probably one of the most entertaining lightsaber duels we've seen in any of the Star Wars sagas, even to this day. It had great choreography, the emotion was there, and the spectacle was just crazy. The dudes were literally fighting on lava, swinging from wires, fighting on pipes. I just remember being in the movie theater, sitting on the edge of my seat when I first saw it, and for me, back in 2005, that was the ultimate finale for the prequels and a great bridge into the original trilogy. However, this fight itself, the location, didn't exactly wow me. Also, I'm a little bit of a Vader fanboy, I'm not gonna lie to you, and from what I know about Vader, Vader should be stronger than Anakin in episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, and Anakin in episode 3 Revenge of the Sith was technically stronger than Obi-Wan. He just lost on a technicality. He lost because he was being stupid. So for Vader to kind of be struggling here kind of threw me off, but you know what, I'm willing to let it go. It was cool seeing Vader be a bit more agile here than we've seen him in other canon live action sequences. But I don't know, after seeing something like the SC-38 fan-made video, I was kinda expecting more. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a snob here, but between SC-38 and this being considered the Vader and Kenobi rematch of a century, the action, the choreography, and the overall spectacle wasn't quite where I would imagine it to be. Again, that's just my opinion, and maybe my standards were a little bit too high. You know, I was thinking rematch of a century, I'm thinking about Star Wars episode 3, I'm thinking about the lava, I'm thinking about how crazy that fight was. I was kind of thinking that this would at least match that, and for me at least, again, spectacle wise, choreography, it didn't really match up. But hey, that's just me. All that aside, where I think the fight truly shines is the final part where Obi-Wan knocks off part of Vader's helmet. Oh my god, just seeing the emotion on Obi-Wan's face when he finally sees what Vader looks like underneath the mask. It truly hits right where it hurts, and I think it's something that Star Wars fans of any generation can appreciate. Obi-Wan apologized to Vader, but then Vader corrects him by telling him, "I'm not your failure, Obi-Wan." And then he proceeds to tell Obi-Wan that Darth Vader is the one that killed Anakin Skywalker. The whole scene not only sent chills down my spine, but it also perfectly bridges the emotional gap between episode 3 and episode 4. For me, and I think a lot of other people, I always felt that Vader and Obi-Wan's confrontation on the Death Star in A New Hope was a little anticlimactic considering what we saw in Revenge of the Sith. And I'm not even referring to the literal fight. because we all know the fight was slower because, you know, it was filmed in like 1977. But I always thought that if we assume the last time they saw each other was on Mustafar, you would think Vader and Obi-Wan would have been a lot more passionate in their dialogue in A New Hope. Like, their interactions in Revenge of the Sith had so much meaning and passion. It was a battle between two comrades, two friends, two brothers. They were screaming, crying, literal burning passion. And for their interaction in A New Hope to be like, hey, we meet again at last, it always felt too formal. It never felt like Vader was literally almost burnt to death the last time they saw each other. But this right here, this sells it for me. Not only does it bridge the emotional gap between episode 3 and 4, but the scene also makes things from the original trilogy a bit more clear. We get some more clarity on where Obi-Wan came up with the story that Vader killed Anakin. Not only that, but there's even a bit of foreshadowing. Or I guess it's a callback because this is a prequel, I don't know. But Obi-Wan tells Vader that his friend is truly dead, much like Luke tells Vader in A New Hope that his father must be truly dead. It's just small details like this that make the scene that much better. While I thought they could have done more with the fight itself, I just love the emotion that we saw here, and it really tied the saga together. Again, Hayden Christensen as Vader really sold it even more for me. I mean, you can't see his full face or anything, but even just seeing half of it is enough. You could feel the emotion in the scene, and the fact that you hear his voice mixed with Vader's, and then just hearing that voice deliver the lines of, "You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did." Oh man, like you just see the deep twisted look on his face, and pain and regret, but also some level of twisted pride. Oh man, someone give this guy an Oscar. Hayden really sells the emotion here. It reminded me of how angry he looked in Revenge of the Sith, and it just solidifies how great of an actor he really is, and how great of an idea it was to bring him back as Vader. I don't think anyone else could have done it better. It also bridges the characters of Anakin and Darth Vader. That's one of the things I think this series as a whole does well here. In the past, Anakin and Vader always felt like almost entirely two different people. Yeah, Anakin had rage, but he was never the cold-hearted, bloodlusted killer we see later on. But this series really helps bridge that gap. And let's not forget Ewan, the sadness in his eyes. You can see the pain in his face when he sees Anakin's disfigured face underneath the mask. And you know he's thinking, damn, I failed him. I did this to him. I left him there. Oh man, like I said, so much can be said here. Before this episode, I kind of wish that they would have said a bit more in their first confrontation in part 3 of the Kenobi series, and even a little bit more in the beginning of this particular fight, but what was said at the end here truly delivered. After Kenobi defeats Vader, he leaves the planet and rushes to Tatooine to check on Luke. During his chase with Reva, Luke is knocked unconscious, and before delivering a killing blow to Luke to exact revenge on Vader and or Obi-Wan, I wasn't fully sure here considering that Bail Organa's message didn't explicitly state who the children were. Reva has a change of heart and brings Luke back to the Larses. Having just gotten there, Obi-Wan assures Reva that she did the right thing, and she and now Obi-Wan are free. Again, I didn't care too much for Reva's arc here, however it does tie well into the theme of letting go. Reva was able to let go of her grudge with Anakin and the Jedi, and Obi-Wan was finally able to relieve himself of the guilt that's been plaguing him the whole season. In the end, Obi-Wan pays a visit to Leia, which wraps up another big plot hole that fans were concerned about throughout the series. In A New Hope, Leia's message to Obi-Wan sounds like they've never met, but in this scene, the show clears that up by having Obi-Wan tell Leia that she can't tell anyone they know each other, or else it could be dangerous for both of them. Afterward, Obi-Wan meets up with the Larses again. Owen lightens up considering he literally almost died from Obi-Wan not being around, but also because he and Obi-Wan come to an understanding that Luke should just be a kid first. Owen meets Luke and says his famous line, "Hello there." Then right before the episode ends, our boy Liam Neeson makes a nice little cameo and tells Obi-Wan he waited this long because Obi-Wan just wasn't ready to see him yet. Better late than never, I guess. All in all, I think this finale was great in some ways but lacking in others. In a lot of ways, it embodied what the series as a whole felt like for me. Just like the other episodes, the scenes with Kenobi and Vader were amazing, but unfortunately Reva's were average at best. I loved how they wrapped up Kenobi and Leia's story, and it was pretty satisfying to hear Kenobi tell young Leia about her parents, even if it was just a surface level description. I wish Vader and Obi-Wan's actual fight was a little more of a spectacle like what we got in Revenge of the Sith, or even fan-made videos like SC38, so in that aspect, for me it didn't really deliver. However, the sheer emotional weight for the final dialogue between Obi-Wan and Vader made up for whatever grievances I had with the action itself. Overall, I give this episode an 8. I think this one would have been a true 9 or 10 for me if they had delivered a bit more on the location and spectacle of the rematch of a century, but all in all, it was still a fun ride with a whole lot of emotion for fans of all generations. Much like the rest of the series, there's a lot of up and down, but ultimately the episode had me walking away feeling mostly satisfied. Let me know what you guys think. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And until next time, peace.